All right, so here is a look at the basket full of my Workhorse decks, and that's what we're going to be discussing today, is the decks that I use most in my client readings. Stay tuned for more. Hello everyone, I am here doing a video for you today, and today we're talking about my Workhorse decks. So I got to thinking about this topic because I am preparing to move and I am downsizing, not my decks apparently. I mean, I did downsize my decks and probably about, overall, probably about 15 or so over the course of the year. So I have, but I haven't really shrunk my collection because just as soon as I sell some decks, I'm gifted some or I buy one or two and then, yeah, so it washes out the ones that I sold, right? So I am separating my decks because I need to identify the decks that I need readily available for me in my readings, my client readings, I should say. I need them available, ready, and accessible. So that's what got me to thinking about this topic. And you're probably wondering why she's wearing lipstick and she's got this little thing in her hair. Today is Halloween and I'm going to do like a few hours of just recording video, so you probably will see this look for a bit across many videos that I do today, because in November I'm probably not going to have a chance to really record. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Okay, let's get started. So my Workhorse decks, I even made a list so I could stay on course, because this is, you saw the basket, it's quite deep and I do work with quite a few decks, but I have my main ones that are universal across all readings, but I do multiple types of readings. So I would say that probably 60 to 70% of my readings are love related, whether it's couples or singles searching for love or like other kinds of family relationship, kind of just love as the core issue. And then the rest would be career readings, life purpose readings, shadow depth, like going into the shadow readings. My favorites are life purpose and career, but I also really do love readings, which is why I think I tend to attract that. And also that's what people are seeking. People are seeking answers surrounding love because that's what they want to manifest. So I have decks specifically for love readings. So we'll talk about that. I have the basket right here. So if you see me bending down, that's what I'm getting. The first deck we're going to talk about is the Light Seers Tarot. So this is Chris Ann's deck, and Chris Ann Donnelly, she created an independent version of this deck, and I love and adore it and baby it. I do collect decks as well as read tarot, and this is my go-to reading deck for most readings. I cannot even understand why or how it came to be, but it just took everything by storm. I just started using the deck instantly for client reading. Something called me to do it, and then from there it just took over. And let me show you. I don't use the mass market, or not the mass, this is the mass market. What am I saying? I don't use the independent version very often, and if I do, it's for readings for myself primarily, or readings, you know, for my sister, for myself. It wouldn't be for the general public, but this is the one that I use for my private practice readings. So those who come to my website and book a reading, or those who go to my Etsy shop and book a reading, or my oh look, my hair, my curls got stuck in the butterflies, or let's go do it again. My hotline calls. So I use this also with hotline readings. Not all the time, but most times I just grab this deck. I would be really sad if I didn't have it available. That's how much I've come to rely on it. It's why I talk about it a lot in my favorites videos, because I just use it and use it. It really surprised me that Hay House created a tarot deck at that I actually really enjoy using. There are some things that I don't like about it, like how I bent them already. I talked about it recently in my October 2020 month in review. It's like my favorites video. I talk about that, about how the cards sometimes bend, and I'm not very gentle, and I use this deck. But for me, using it all the time, practically every day, it's held up quite well. Some people have edged theirs. I just haven't bothered. I haven't had a chance to. I haven't had a chance to sit down and do that with this deck. I am also thinking about getting a backup deck. And that's something I normally don't even want myself to even go down that path and do. But yeah, I'm going to probably get a backup. So that is the Lightseers Tarot, and that is probably my #1 hands down workhorse deck. And like I said, I can't even really explain to you why. I knew when I saw Chris and Donnelly initially creating the indie version of this, I knew it was something special. I knew it was something I wanted. I love modern decks. Many of my tarot decks and oracle decks have a modern vibe to it. That's just my aesthetic that I appreciate more so than anything. I do have other tastes, and you'll see that in a moment, but I just really know that my clients resonate with the decks and images that they can relate to, and I do too. So there's that. The next deck is the Dear Heart Oracle. This is an oldie but goodie. This bag, I need to retire. It's so bang up. This is a mess. But again, I'm so busy. I haven't even had a chance to do such a thing. Curls keep getting caught in the butterflies. All right, so here's the Dear Heart. This is the first edition, or volume 1. And then this is, you can see V2, volume 2. And I combined them. And I used to talk about this deck a lot on my channel because I use it a lot. And I still use it a lot. Not as much this year because many of my clients were booking readings that didn't allow for how I use this oracle deck. Like they were asking a heck of questions that took up a full hour that didn't allow for what I like to do, which is an overall energies forecast where I look at the light attributes and the shadow attributes of the energies surrounding them and what's going on pertaining to either them in their general life or them in the specific situation or question they're asking about. So this was one of the 2 decks that I used, and I use this as the light attribute. And the reason why I combine them is because if I see this color shade, because I'll turn the cards over and lay them flat after they jump. If I see them, it doesn't matter, but whatever. Like if I see the front, it's not a big deal. But this is a big deal. This shade and this shade. This is past to present or present to past energies. And this is present to future, or present to future or future to present energies. Because I think of time not so much in a linear fashion. And the same with energies and vibrations. So when I see this, and this comes up in a reading for a client, and they have a few, like all future energies, to say, oh, this is interesting. Spirit really wants us to discuss the energies surrounding what's coming up for you. Or if it's past to present, then I'm like, oh, this is something that's still coloring your experience today. So that's how I use this deck. Let me show you some of the cards. There is no guidebook, and you can get it off, I think she has a Printer's Studio account. Dear Heart Oracle. I checked the other day just to make sure that it's still available for sale, and it is. So that's good. Balance. For some reason, this deck just works for me. It just works. Inner Light. I remember it was one of the first oracles that I used strictly intuitively, without knowing like a backstory of it, without knowing a guide meaning or meanings up to the cards, and just went with it. And I had the best readings with them. So that's how I started to incorporate them into my readings. And like I said, I like to open up some of my longer readings. Like some of my clients book really long reading sessions with me. And I love this one. This is Protection, the Crystallized Heart. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sometimes they'll book longer sessions with me, and it allows for me to carve out 5 or 10 minutes to go give them a little energy forecast. Protection is so beautiful because sometimes this is a call that you need to protect your heart, and sometimes this may mean that there's a lot of overprotection going on to the point it's blocking out love or preventing you from, sharing your love. So you look at the surrounding cards to kind of get the context of what this is saying. But I love this card so much. There's a shadow one. Let me see if I can find it. Look at, there's Radiate and Healing. It's not all light. Here's Darkness, Retreat. And there's a few additional cards that are added to Volume 2 versus Volume 1. And some people are like, well, you're going to have duplicates. I like when I have duplicates because let's say 2 darknesses come up in the energy forecast. I will read that as there's 2 different aspects of darkness. Maybe there's darkness inside of the querent, and maybe there's darkness around them or in the person closest to them. So there's different ways to interpret it when double cards come up. And it could be affecting their past and their future. So you see how I play with this deck? And you can do the same with any of your oracle decks, honestly, or your tarot decks, really. You can use it how you want to use it and how you are called to use it. Growth. And it's A-okay. Okay? Your shadow self. So I can gush on and on about this deck because I don't talk a lot about it because I felt like I talked so much about it that people are probably like, okay, girl. But I really love it. It's a really good oracle deck. And it's an all-rounder too. Alright, so next up, this is the shadow aspects. Let's see if I can find it. Hopefully, oh, there it is. And I'm going to have to take sips of my beverage. I'm a little parched. Okay, got this in this little bag here. This is the Oracle of Nightmares. This is also independently produced, and it is available. I found out. You just have to go to the website and kind of follow, or go to the Etsy shop for White Rabbit Oracle, because it'll give you the instructions on where to purchase her decks now. And Ariana Siegel created this deck. She created the White Rabbit Oracles 1 and 2, which I have. She created some cute Lenormand decks, which I have 2 of those. And then I have this, the Oracle of Nightmares. So I'm obviously a fan. Here are the backs. This is a very dark looking deck, right? However, it's not really like scary. I'll explain to you in a moment. This is my shadow to my Dear Heart Oracle. This is the shadow aspects. These are the cards that, so if I have 4 cards of the Dear Heart Oracle on the top row, below I'll have 4 of these cards. And each card will speak directly. So let's do that. Okay. So it'll be the shadow aspect of the top card of the Dear Heart Oracle. So we have in the light aspect, we have passion. And then in the shadow, we have risk. Maybe this person is risk averse. And they are so scared that they are like actually stifling the passion that really wants to be birthed inside of them. They're afraid. Or maybe they're being too risky, chasing after all their, everything they're passionate about, all this debauchery going on. So it just depends on what the other cards in the spread are saying. But that's how I speak to it. This is the shadow to the light facing. And like I say in that reading, that's light facing and shadow facing is not necessarily mean good or bad. Like some of the cards in here, I mean, they have confusion, but then they have possibilities. So then they also have regret, disquiet, love that one, withdrawal. I mean, yeah, you're going to have some shadowy stuff, but it's not scary, I assure you. The shadow, haunted. I love inertia. I love quirky keywords that really help trigger things and ignite things in the mind. Secrets. There's a secrets card in the Dear Heart Oracle. So sometimes I've even had it where the light facing energy was secrets, and then the shadow facing was also secrets. And I was like, oh, you got a lot going on with that. Let's talk about it. Repression. So you can barely see almost what's going on. So I have to really bring the cards up. You know, sometimes it's kind of challenging when you're doing video readings to use this deck because they are so dark. It's kind of hard to make out what's going on here. Here's manifestation. But I still work with them because they're really good in bringing out the messages I need to bring out for my clients. So, yeah, I like that. Okay, so next up, some more oracles. Let's see. I don't vary too much for tarot decks because I always feel like it's best for me. I can't speak for other people, but when I'm doing client readings, it's best for me to have a really good relationship with one to 5 decks at most. And even that feels too much. 1 to 2 decks is probably what I do the most. But it's just that you want to really get to know your decks, and that way the messages come off second nature. Like, it's just, you know, you can see the images and know their querent's question, or they may not even have a question. They may just want to know, and you'll be able to look at the images, know the book, know the keyword meanings behind the tarot meaning. So I tend to have more oracles in my working collection, my working deck collection. But I have like 1 to 5 tarot for specific purposes. Light Seers is definitely one of my main workhorses for tarot. The next one is a close second, and that one is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. And I forgot to mention that Pan Art, and I cannot recall her actual name. She created Dear Heart Oracle. Love her though. So here's the Slow Tarot. Again, I don't know how or why. I just was like, this is going to be a great one for client readings, but it just became one. And I adore this deck. It just, similar to the Light Seers, the messages just flow easily for me, and I see little nuanced things in there, even like the flowers, the way they're positioned, or, you know, the expression on the person's face is a clue about the meaning to the card in the context of the whole reading. So that is, it's beautiful. Again, it's these artists, their artwork, I think maybe that's why these decks, these two really speak to me. This one is actually independently produced, and I use it exclusively for video readings and for my client readings. I don't, because it's independently produced, I kind of baby these and only I want to touch them. So I wouldn't, if I was out doing public readings, which I'm not really right now due to the pandemic, but if I was out doing public readings, I probably would not be inclined to take this one because I don't want anything to happen. And I am kind of beating it up. I see here like the edging is kind of messed up. But decks are supposed to be used. But again, if anybody's going to mess it up, it's going to be me. So I have plenty of decks in my collection that I have no problems with clients touching. And people who want to learn tarot, I have no qualms about them learning tarot with my decks and touching them and picking them up and looking at the cards. But some of my babies, no. Sorry. Not sorry. No. All right, next deck. Now this one's fun. I need to finally publish the unboxing of this deck because I've had this one for a while. And I use it quite a bit. Let me tell you. Let me show you. Okay, it's Caroline Miss, the archetype cards. This one surprised me. I've seen it for years, and it wasn't until early this year that I got it. And I just had an intuitive hit that this would be a great one for relationship dynamic readings, or for those who are seeking love and they want to know, oh, you know, what would the next person, you know, what would be kind of like what will they be like? And so these are good clues into that. But it's also really good for those readings where people are questioning about like a difficult situation in a relationship. And we could ask, what are the archetypal energies that each party in the issue is bringing to the table? So we have addict, and you have the light attribute, and you have the shadow attribute. There is a guidebook in here. For me, I don't need the guidebook or consult it at all. You got exactly what you need with the keyword, the light attribute, the shadow, and then of course the image. So that's why I don't really, the guidebook, I don't even know. I think it goes into additional information, but it also kind of just copies what's on the card. Here's Femme Fatale. Love this one too. Love Addict. Love Femme Fatale. I love the ones that really get to the essence of what people may be really doing and up to. Engineer. Rescuer. Servant. I mean, there's like how many cards? 80 oracle cards. Knight, Rebel, Victim, Visionary, and then they got several like child cards. We have Child, Wounded, like the wounded child. That's good. Child, Eternal Child, Mother, let's see, Miser or Midas, Detective, Samaritan. I mean, I could go on and on. I need to publish finally the unboxing so you guys can see all the cards. So check the unboxings out of these videos for full flip throughs on my channel because, well, chances are there's an unboxing pretty much. There's a good chance. All right. So I really was surprised by this one. And now I don't want to have readings without them. I use them across the board with all relationship type readings, including my readings on the hotline and including my readings for my clients in my private practice. All right. Let's see. Oh, this is another fun one to talk about. Again, love specific readings or relationships. Now this one is more for me. It is not, it's for client readings. Let me back it up. It's for client readings, and I talk about it in my October 2020 faves or month in review because it was one of my favorites because I had a lot of hotline calls. And what's cool about the hotline that I work for is one of the options is video. It allows you to do quick little video readings, and so I get their questions so I know ahead of time what the question's going to be. And oftentimes it's love readings. And sometimes people will ask those questions like, oh, I want to know, we slept together once and we live in different cities and we sometimes talk on the phone and I don't know what's going on. And so what I'll do is like, I really want to know the real deal about this relationship. I really want to know the essence of this relationship so I know how best to help the client. Like what message, if it comes up in the reading, do I really need to like pick up and pay attention to about this couple and their dynamic. So I'll shuffle these before the reading, and it could be for any client reading that I just wonder about the relationship. If it's not clearly spelled out, it's not defined, like those relationships or those people who also are really having a difficult time attracting someone, I look again and I ask these cards. So we have, someone in this relationship, this is what this card is telling me, is self-absorbed, a narcissist. It's a one-sided relationship, love bombing. Not quite sure what love bombing is, but I think I have an idea. I think it's like somebody just bombarding someone else with love and then the other person's just kind of repelling it. That's what I would guess it is. And the key word is the golden mirror. So there's some reflection and such that needs to be happening here about this relationship dynamic. It's totally one-sided and it will continue to be that way. It started out that way and it's going to be very difficult to change the course that it is on. So that is what I use the Island Time Wellness Oracle for. It is, I'm sure people can use this little oracle, and I've combined first, second, and third editions. Here's the third edition. I kind of use it on the side. But because then it'd be too much to shuffle. A lot of people probably could use this as a love reading oracle, and even probably use it above like tarot for love readings, you know, especially on hotline calls where you're needing quick messages to come through. But sometimes these messages are a little difficult to take in for a client, and it's for my eyes only. Let me see if I can find one that's like something that might be really difficult for them to like acts. Okay, it says breakup, separation, stop the pattern, silent treatment, abandonment. That's not too bad. I mean, we all have those situations in our life where we needed an axe and we needed it quickly, but we just decided to let things just grow and stew and turn into a hot mess, you know. So there's acts, but then there's the cheater story. Cheated on now or in the past. Trust issues triggered. Heal past hurts and change your future. Stabbed in the back. Heartbreak, pain, separation, deception, shocking attack. I got seduction. The grass is greener. Altered view. Oh, I love this one. Seeing things differently than they are, what's really going on. Past conditioning influencing the situation. Time to reevaluate. Alter view. I love that. You see what I'm saying? Subconscious mind. Maybe something on your subconscious is actually really affecting your ability to attract in relationships that you feel that you can that you can trust the partner. Back together. So there's a positive one. There's several positive ones, but then it's got heartbroken. Karmic relationship. What's cassette? Oh, cassette. This is cute. Look at this. Outdated thinking, conditioning, replaying events over in your head. And you have that friend, you know that friend that just, they have that relationship they cannot let go, and they're a cassette and they keep replaying it over and over again, telling you the same stories, telling you the same hurts, telling, as if it happened yesterday. So this is very useful for me in my love readings. Very, very indeed useful. All right. Next up, let's see. The power of surrender. This is one of my absolute favorites for readings for myself and readings for clients. This is for sure, a working deck for me. The Power of Surrender cards by Judith Orloff. And I forgot who created the Island Time Wellness. My apologies, but it's really good decks. This is a Hay House. Really easily available. Really inexpensive when you catch it on sales. Usually Hay House has several sales throughout the year. You could probably get it cheaply on Amazon. Who knows? I mean, you can get your hands on this relatively easy. This is my second copy. The first copy has water damage. The gilding, the gold gilding is all jacked up. And I'm not even quite sure what to do with it. I can't bear to think giving it away or donating it, or because it's a mess. But I also love it dearly. It gave me some of the best readings, the most helpful readings. And I use it for client readings, so I didn't want to use a water damaged deck for my clients. So, and what I may have to do, guys, I just realized this video is going pretty long. And I still have a few to go through. So I'm probably, after this deck, we're going to cut. This is part 1. And then we'll go to part 2 of my Workhorse deck. Because I don't want these videos to be hecka long. Here's Surrender to Spirit. This is just, it takes forever for them to upload. And yeah. And then it's too long for you guys to have to sit here and watch. It's break time. So this, I've done a deck in focus on the Power of Surrender. I'm pretty sure I've done an unboxing, but this may have come to my collection pretty early where I wasn't doing unboxings yet for every single deck. So I know for sure I did a deck in focus. So check it out, because Surrender to Non-Action, because I did do a deck in focus for that. And yeah. So we're going to take a break. We're going to go. I'm going to take big gulps of my beverage. I don't want to do that, bore you all with that. And then we're going to move on to part 2 so we can finish out my list. Because I had a total of 15 working decks that I wanted to discuss with you all today and why. And before I end this part, I just want to say this deck, I use it for my New Year's readings, all client readings. It doesn't matter if it's relationship, career, life purpose. This speaks universally to all situations. We all have something that we need to surrender and let go that would help us really go to the next level in our life, to relieve pain, to relieve anxiety, to level up even. So this deck is so amazing to me. I think it's highly underrated. I hardly ever see people talk about it, but it's one of my favorites of all time. And it's, like I said, quite cheap. I think at one point, this one, I think I paid $11, as is the first one. I got it on a Black Friday sale. So there you have it. All right, guys, I will be back for part 2. So come on back so we can finish out my Workhorse decks 2020 version.